Oh, I couldn't think of the name of what it was for a second. Hey, everybody. Welcome to.
Welcome back to the Read the fucking DMG Podquest. It's been a
Eh,
minute since Dave and I did one of these. We've been busy as hell for like the last 10 days.
True. So,
I got, oh shit, I still have my vaccine sticker on. I got
what?
vaccinated today, friends.
Hey, I'm not, so don't come near me. God knows what I'm
Um,
carrying.
you can't hang out with me until like April 20th, according to LCMC. So,
Okay. Wow, that's a long time. Damn.
well, you get the second dose and then it's 2 weeks.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get mine on Friday. Woohoo. I don't think too much is going to change about my life, but it'll be like, it's nice having options.
They won't have excuses anymore. Like, oh geez, COVID can't go nowhere.
I know. It's the best excuse for everything. Hey, where's this? COVID. COVID. It's like it feels like a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode.
Right? I was thinking about that.
COVID. Parkinson's, Larry. Parkinson's. But yeah, we didn't actually take any questions today because we are discussing the brand new release of Candlekeep Mysteries, which came out officially today.
We started looking at it last night, and we almost recorded it last night because I was giving live reactions, and Dave was like, "Shut up, Sarge!"
Yeah, so I've had a chance to at least pour through it a little bit, and we looked at it some last night and kind of got our initial first impressions. Granted, we haven't word for word because this is what a 300, 250, 225 page, $50 book.
Here we go. Here we go.
It's begun. But I think there's a lot of cool things in it, and I think we'll see what Sarge's initial impressions are, what my initial impressions are, and just talk about that. So
Okay, you want me to go first?
yeah, Sarge
Okay.
was reading it like first.
My initial response to this book is incredibly positive. I am excited to see another anthology book because I immediately thought of interesting ways I could position that book for my friends for what they would want to run. Because
Mhm.
it's laid out in the first chapter really well. You get a very simple table that has all of the adventures and the basic quest hook that sends them there with the
Yeah,
level of the adventure. So a bunch of my regular players who we haven't really played together with properly in like almost a year because of COVID and all the other stuff going on. Some of them are like, all right, is anybody running any of the Candlekeep stuff as one shots? And I'm like, I might. And so I might just give them the table and ask them, which one do you want me to run? Which sounds fun to you guys? And we'll just run that one.
yeah,
And I think that's really cool. Way more than say Yawning Portal was. Not to dunk on Yawning Portal
yeah.
or Saltmarsh, but like these are very much packaged as bite-sized experiences. So I think
Hmm.
it's a lot easier to be like, hey, this sounds like it might be fun. Let's grab our 11th level characters who retired and send them on a weird Harper quest to go meet a bard who the Harpers want us to go talk to. That's like the 11th level one I was reading, The Curious Tale of Wisteria. Like,
Yeah.
not spoiling, just that's what the premise is. Like, you get hired by the Harpers to go
Oh
deal with
yeah.
the
By the way, there spoiler warning. Well,
bard.
spoiler warning.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Just in case. We're going to talk about Candlekeep. If you don't want to hear anything about Candlekeep, don't watch this.
Yeah.
Because we're the worst. Because we talk about.
Duh. It's right there above this box. I'm pretending like
Oh, yeah, we're
being
YouTubers now. That's right. I forgot we had to do those things. Like, we'll
things.
put some things down in the comments for you.
Like um
No,
what
I think I really like the opening bits. I like how Candlekeep is given enough description that you can run it as a setting, as just like a magical library place if you need it one in your game. It has just enough lore that I feel like it's runnable for me as somebody who doesn't like getting bogged down in lore when I want to run something, but
yeah.
just enough that it feels like a place like this would actually be an interesting place to introduce my players to before we hop into whatever quest they go into.
Yeah.
And skimming over some of the adventures, they look really solid. I think it's an interesting design to make every single adventure self-contained. Like all the magic items and the new monsters are in line in the text, which Normally we wouldn't do. We'd be like, they're going to put them all in the references so you can find them all in an easy space. But I don't think it's bad to make sure that as you're flipping through an adventure, you don't have to go elsewhere in the book to reference stuff. So
Hmm.
my initial thoughts on this book overall are really positive, and I'm excited to see what comes out of Wizards intentionally working with a much wider pool of writers than the folks they've gotten comfortable working with.
Yeah, yeah. Did they work with a lot of like new writers? Because I'm looking at the
Yeah,
bios and I did see some like older names.
like there's a bit towards the back somewhere in the credits. I'm not sure what it is in the physical book, but there's a
Yeah.
lot of folks involved in this.
Let's see, Graham Barber. Yeah, he's looks new. Um, Bill Benham is that's not new. TSR. Yeah, it seems like a even mix.
I was excited to see Allison Huang in here because the Uncaged series, anthology series that they've been part of has been has been really popular in the community for a couple of years. Ducky's a big fan, and we've run some
hmm
of their stuff.
Yeah, I see they have like a television writer and a comedy actor, Amy Vorpal, who worked on a few shows that I've watched. Newsroom, Mindy Project. That's pretty cool.
I follow Daniel Kwan because he and his friends are doing some really interesting breakdowns about the way D&D handles the Far East and
Hmm.
its content, and they've been doing this whole thing called Asians Represent for a while, and they've had their own cool stuff. That was really fascinating to see. It's nice recognizing some of these people here as people I've been following for a couple of years who
Yeah.
have been nudging Wizards to hire people like them to write stuff so they could expand what they do, and it's nice to see Wizards at least opening the
Yeah.
door for that.
Yeah, it is nice. I mean, I'm a big fan of Dungeon Magazine, and Dungeon Magazine, like, that was where they lived. I mean,
Mhm.
Christopher Perkins was just some college kids when he started writing, and his name's in the back there too, saying like he's contributed over 500 D&D products. Holy cow, that's a lot. And yeah, like you would read through the old dungeon. There were every bio was the same. It was some like English major at some college here in the U.S. like every or history. But yeah, so I grabbed the book. I got my physical copy today, sent from the Amazons, and took a look through it, and it's pretty cool. Some little things that I noticed that I think are interesting. Like, I really dig the format. It reminds me of like a
I
like an
want you to show me later on after we're off air. I want to show me how they arrange the art in the physical book a little bit.
it's the same as usual. Half page watercolor border. Um, like like the
Yeah.
typical taking up half a page and charging you the same. You got the big old Mike Schley piece of art, which is really beautiful. I would say 90% of the maps are by Dyson Logos, it looks like, with Tim Harton on just a couple of them. I think the Wisteria one that you mentioned, as well as possibly another one that's in here. I think I saw it earlier. I can't find it anymore. But yeah, pretty cool. Of course, the usual mishmash of awesome Wizards of the Coast artists. Lots of really different style of adventures that aren't like your typical Wizards of the Coast fare. It's got a little bit of everything in it. I really dig the anthology style where it's like every one is based on like whatever book you find in the library. Like, what's
I
this?
really liked the book. I
Yeah,
liked the book as a hook. I thought the flavor of the book was interesting. Because I mean, it's like a thing that rolls out a lot. Like you go into somebody's place, you find some books, and they're kind of like a throwaway item in your campaign. I thought it was a clever conceit for
yeah.
Wizard. Like some of these
It
books you find can lead to super weird quests.
Yeah, it reminds me of like a sci-fi channel or CW like style anthology series where it's
Just made
like,
me.
you know what I mean? Like the same.
No, for sure. You just made me think about the fact that Sci-Fi Channel changed the spelling of their name.
Yeah, I think actually it was either Friday the 13th the series or Nightmare on Elm Street the series from like the 90s or maybe even the 80s, which had a similar premise except it was like an antique store and every antique had some like crazy story attached to it. But it's very much like also like Tales from the Crypt or like old horror stories where, you know, or geez, Cabin in the Woods, like where they go in the basement, right? And it's like, ooh, pick your doom. And that's kind of the vibe that this goes with here. Granted, it's like leveled up, so you can run it as a campaign or you can run them as individual bits. Some things I noticed, and I don't know if you noticed this.
I haven't had as much time to read it as you. I was knocked out because of the vaccine all day.
I read it a little bit before taking a nap today, as I do. I ate a bunch of
As you
sugar,
do.
and they've changed some things. There's some constructs that have come in that I'm like, oh, about damn time. Like a swarm of animated books. I feel like this one should have been included in the monster manual. The fact that it's like 7 years later, because it's like everybody wants that, and now they have it, which is pretty cool. They changed the way false appearance works, which I'm not crazy about. They call it false objects now. So originally, false appearance is just like it's an automatic surprise for the monster, whatever it's going to be. There's really no way to tell. But this says if the swarm is motionless at the start of the combat, has advantage on its initiative roll. Moreover, if a creature hasn't observed the swarm, so it's basically taking away like auto surprise from it, right?
I think that's probably a good call overall because most people do not understand how to use surprise in the game in
Yeah.
the first place.
Yeah, surprise is kind of it's worded weird in the book. Then the way they did spellcasting changed. So spellcasters used to have slots and like a full retinue of spells they can cast. Well, now they've essentially changed it where they've added in like their biggest damage dealing things, which were like its go-to spells. So like in the case of the Master Sage, it has Shocking Grasp built into its action block, and then Fireball built into its action block, and then it has spell casting worded more or less the same way as it used to be with innate spell casting. So it says the Sage casts one of the following spells using intelligence as a spell casting ability, save DC, and then it gives like at will cantrips 3 times a day each, like a number of like lower level spells, and then once a day each are like looks like mostly fourth, fifth level spells like polymorph, banishment. So that's kind of weird. And then it puts shield under reaction too. And interestingly, like the spells that it can cast don't reappear within it. So it's telling you, it's basically giving you built-in tactics, saying he's pretty much going to use Fireball when he can, and then Shocking Grasp. I don't know why a Master Sage in a library would use Fireball. Maybe there's something in here that says.
Well, there's that big open like courtyard.
Yeah,
if you go running across that courtyard, they're like, "I got him now," and they all release a fireball at once.
He said, I'm going to have to ask you to step outside real fast. 18 seconds. That's all I need. But yeah, that was kind of interesting. I don't know how I feel about it, but I do like the fact that it's kind of telling you like what spells they should be casting.
I think it's worth experimenting with regardless. And I think this is like a book you can get away with it in. Like it's one adventure of 16 in an anthology book. It's the time to experiment with some stuff like that.
They got a lot of a lot of more considerations for the broader audience too. Like there's the bit about being a sensitive dungeon master in the beginning.
I thought that was a good thing to include because sometimes I'll be at a table where something just gets dropped on a player and you can see the player is visibly uncomfortable and doesn't want to mess up something. And I mean, we've had a lot of instances in the last year in the TTRPG space. I don't want to talk about them specifically on our Podquest, but we've had some well-known creators end up having to end their shows because of incidents that occurred on them. And that's been uncomfortable to watch happen for people in the last year. And I think it's better for Wizards to start encouraging people to do this before you go online and take your game into the public realm, is be sensitive to what may happen at your table.
Yeah. So they got that. It's funny, like this one, I haven't read through all of them, but I can't imagine like maybe I have to read them a little bit more.
I really want to like probably do like we'll probably return to this in another podcast after Dave and I have had time to read the mystery side of this. Like my fast read as well is they clearly also recognize where the game is, apparently, especially in response to what's happened with COVID putting us indoors for a year. Almost every single adventure in this I noticed had at least a viable battle mat for when you had to go poking around a place for your mystery bits. which is going to make it easy to use on VTT in a way that I was worried it wouldn't be. When they're like, it's going to be a mystery. I'm like, oh, it's just going to be people walking around and talking for 4 hours asking the same questions.
Yeah. And they also intentionally didn't gender any of the NPCs, which is interesting, saying you can give any gender you want. So it's
the game has usually been designed that way. Like the Chicago style guidelines they give says, unless required, don't gender an NPC.
Yeah. It's like clan strong branch, a human archmages. But I feel like they've done that in the past where they would have said male or female if it wasn't easy to tell. So that's kind of neat. And then also saying like, give them an AOI that you want. The monsters are pretty good. I know, like I
here we go,
seeing them in the middle of the pages, but for someone like me who wants to like have an appendix which I can grab really fast, it's like, oh, this is gonna be tedious. Like, what if I want to find? There's granted, as a writer, I can't use any of this shit because it's not gonna be SRD. But still, that's kind of different. There's really no appendices. I mean, you have contributor bios. You have your big fold-out map in the back, which is pretty,
show me the map. Show me the map. Yeah.
Slave money is worth it. Woo! Costing us. We had to fire 3 people just to get a map from you today. No idea how much they do.
I tease about the Coffin Maker map appearing in Red Handed Doom and Curse of Strahd.
Yeah. Hey, man. Shit, I do that shit all the time. Like every town is Ostenwald in a team.
Oh yeah. For clarity, for the folks who are confused by that, the Coffin Maker's shop, which appears in Curse of Strahd, the same map appears in the 3rd edition module, Red Handed Doom, in the city of Brindle in Chapter 4. Mike looks like he redrew it and updated it for that particular adventure. But I thought that was really fun that I still got to see Wizards of the Coast reuse a map, because we've had people comment about us reusing maps before, and then I'll be like, Wizards does it, and they're like, what? Here's some screenshots for you.
I would say the one thing, there's like getting rid of the appendices, that's different for sure, and pretty much you rely on the contents for it. It's weird how some of the adventures separate the monsters out, though. Like Candlekeep Deconstruction puts the monsters at the end. So does a few of the other ones. But then other ones will have them like in the middle. So that's kind of weird. But other than that, I mean,
I think they definitely went dealer's choice on it, and they think they were letting the writers play around with it more.
Yeah. I mean, but otherwise, like, other than some of the arrangements being, different, and some things that we'll have to learn as content creators and like try to experiment with and see if it's actually better or not, or it's just them seeing if it's better or not. I think it's a home run. There's a lot of really interesting adventures that aren't your normal like they're different, man. They're weird and cool.
I'm excited to read it. Because again, like it hits the specific the specific pain point we've talked about, where almost all the adventures we write these days have to be grounded on a major location. So in most cases, our content is location-based adventures, because we have to write content that plays well on virtual tabletops, because the bulk of our audience has to play on virtual tabletops. And again, like the confines of a location allow the DM and players to stay kind of engaged with the same sort of baseline information. But it's cool to see Wizards do a whole adventure series from level 1 all the way through 16 that's playing around with, you have to use the location, but we're not going to just write location-based adventures. It's going to be about some other thing you need to figure out in the location. That's a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to deep dive into these adventures over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I like, one thing I do like is they have like the really tropey one, like it's the first adventure, the Joy of Extra Spaces. It's like exactly what you think when you enter books flying out and hit you in the head and shit. Like, stop it! Animated brooms, dun 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 dun.
I hope there's an adventure in this that's built like the Page Master, that movie, that animated film with oh man, what's his name? Macaulay Culkin. If it isn't in here, we have to write that, Dave.
Yeah. Thing as a content writer, like it's really easy to write off spin-off content on this, because you could just be like, they find a book in a magical library, wink wink, and and it's like, you can easily fill the gaps as a writer. So if you are one of our writing folks out there, that's not a bad idea for you to, especially since this is going to be the new hotness on like Roll20 and other places that'll be selling it. What is Fantasy Grounds? And I think Fantasy Grounds and Roll20s are probably the only ones that'll have official Candlekeep.
And then DM's Guild is probably going to be full of people writing Candlekeep tack-ons from this.
Yeah, well, they won't be any good. No, I shouldn't say that because I got friends who are in DM's Guild now. There will be some good ones. There'll be some.
Yeah, some of our guys just released a product on there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They weren't they doing a Candlekeep spinoff?
Yeah.
Or is it just a bunch of books? Is that what they wrote?
I haven't seen it yet, but Alex is supposed to send me a copy of it.
Yeah. I mean, really, this format is pretty cool. I mean, I could see like being like a weird curio magic shop having like a similar thing too. Like, oh, look at this weird old dummy. The dummy. Dun dun dun. Wait a minute. What's this?
Oh, Jesus. Here we go.
What could it mean?
Dude, that's basically the plot of Lost Altar of Kortar, though. You find a hand.
I think I got this hand at the same time I wrote Lost Altar of Kortar. I'm like, God, making 100 adventures based on every trinket. Oh, that'd be so tedious, though.
If you guys are curious about that, you can go find it on Roll20. In Roll20, it's called Dungeon of Shadows. On our Patreon, it's called Lost Altar of Kortar. Though I think you have to be Electrum to see that one.
Lost Altar of Kortar.
That's a fun one. It's got some great art.
That's a good Kickstarter idea, right? Like, let's kickstart a book with an adventure based on every trinket. Oh my God. It'd be a series of books. It'd be like
100 adventures. I can already tell Jen mentioning us right now. Well, how many pages did I say? What did I say?
We'll get them all. We'll make them all 500 words each. Don't worry, Jen.
100 encounters, like an encounter based on every trinket. That could be fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's. I mean, we still have a lot to dive in. Obviously, I want to run some of them to make sure that they're pretty good and like actually read thoroughly. This has kind of been like our us who stare at Wizards of the Coast content all the time and try to get a good understanding of like why they do things. I think is a lot of fun. Good grief, the Canada price is crazy. I'm sorry, Canadians. My God, like $66.
I will say, yeah, on our way out. Again, like my initial impressions are the formatting style looks really good. Their information architecture was very legible. And I think it's a good product because it's going to inspire a lot of third-party creation, which is good for Wizards because it means that more people are going to buy this book because the rest of us are going to create an army of content that's
it, man. That's
into it.
That's the reality of the OGL. Is it's like they create an army of influencers for them who support their product and worship it. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything more. It's like the fact, like anybody who would be restrictive on their OGL with their main IP, Chaosium, that. But whatever.
Dave really wants to write for your system, guys. Please let him write for you.
Yeah. Drive through RPG. Pass. But though I am thinking about it after talking to Jason from Legendary Games.
See, they got you.
Yeah, they got him. But anyways, that's our analysis, our gut take on Candlekeep Mysteries. Pretty cool book.
Yeah. Like we'll probably have more concrete and more specific reactions to things in the coming weeks. But our initial response is pretty positive. I think that's the big thing for me. I just like when a product is what it says it's going to be. I really don't like it's an anthology set in Candlekeep with a bunch of adventures. Wow, that's what I got. I'm so happy.
Yeah. Totally ranks right up there with like Yawning Portal and Ghostmarsh for like having some of the easier content to run because it's just like you go on Roll20, you buy like the whole pack or you buy them individually. I'm sure they're going to sell them individually too. And you're just like, all right, which one do you guys want to play? Either if it's like a one shot or.
That's exactly what I'm going to do probably either next week or this weekend with some of my friends. I'm sure they're going to pick one of the high level ones because they want to bring back their Red-Handed Doom party.
Yeah. It is cool, but guess what's still missing? Tier 4. Oh no, where's Tier 4?
That's true. It explicitly stopped at 16.
Yep, right at 16. Like
they don't want you using Wish in the middle of their adventures. That's what it is.
They don't want to use it. They shouldn't have put it in the PHP. All right, that's
Can't
enough.
get rid of Wish, man.
Anyway, thanks everybody so much. Be sure to like and subscribe. Smash the subscribe button. Leave a comment about what you think about Candlekeep Mysteries.
Yeah,
And
leave a comment below if you want us to talk about a specific adventure. If there's something you all notice that you want us to talk about, absolutely, and we will definitely talk about that in the future.
and also, don't forget, read the fucking DMG. And
Please.
Candlekeep. Look, they're reading the DMG. Be like them. They're like, oh.
Oh, in chapter 5, you can roll for that? I know.
Ow. All right, bye, guys.